Welcome back, everybody. How you doing tonight? So, Wizards announced their new 2020 Challenger deck series today, and I kind of wanted to go over those and my opinions about them and let you guys see what's in them. You can go to the site, and they do have breakdowns of every deck. The first one up is Allied Fires. This is basically just the Super Friends deck. So it appears to me that they're basically taking all the really popular decks on Arena right now and actually physically making them for these Challenger decks, which is pretty neat because they're actually real decks that are people are really using and winning with right now. So let's go over the deck list. For Allied Fires, obviously it's a Fires of Invention based deck, but it's basically the Super Friends deck. So you got 3 Sarkhan the Masterless, which if you're not familiar with this deck, basically his ability is, his +1 is until end of turn, each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon creature and gains flying. So you immediately turn all your planeswalkers into 4/4 flying dragons. So it's pretty crazy, especially if you can wipe out your opponent's board and get rid of all their creatures, and then boom, make all your planeswalkers flying red 4/4 dragons. So 3 of him, and then 1 Ugin. You get an Ugin the Ineffable in here. You get 3 of Kasmina the Enigmatic Mentor, and then surprisingly 4 of the Narset Porter of Veils. That's a really expensive uncommon card, or at least it was until they announced this. The reprint machine is probably going to kill the value on a lot of cards, because they did put a lot of really good, usable, playable cards in these decks. So expect the prices to kind of plummet a little bit after they released these in April, I believe. So 4 Narsets, 2 Saheelis, and then your creatures, you actually get a Kenrith, the Return King, which was the Throne of Eldraine Buy a Box promo. You could get them in the collector's boosters, but now they're going to actually include them in one of these, which is quite surprising. So you get 1 of him, you get 2 of the Fae of Wishes. Most people run 4 of these, but you know, 2 of them will work just fine, I believe. And considering all the other great stuff you're getting in here, it's quite surprising. Deafening Clarion, you get 3 of those. That's going to help you with that whole board wipe thing. So you get rid of all your other creatures, or all the other creatures on the board, and then you can turn your planeswalkers into creatures and just swing over to face for the win. So Drawn from Dreams, you get 2 of those. Another way to just kind of cycle through and get the cards you need. Time Wipe, you get 2 of those. You know, another good way to wipe out everybody else's creatures while saving yours. So if you got Kenrith down, you return him and then destroy everybody else's creatures and then recast the Kenrith. You got 4 Fires of Invention in here, which is kind of surprising. Again, like I said, that they're putting full play sets of rares in these Challenger decks. Pretty astonishing, actually. So full play set of Fires of Invention. 2 Banishing Lights to get rid of stuff that's causing problems. 4 Omen of the Seas to help you kind of find the cards you're looking for. And then you actually do get some pretty decent lands. You get a Steam Vent in here, an actual shock land. I wish they'd, you know, have put a few more shock lands in here. That would have been even cooler. But, you know, they've already got so many rares and mythics in these Challenger decks. I'm actually surprised they did put a Steam Vents in this one. You got your stupid temples. You got Temple of Enlightenment, Temple of Epiphany. It doesn't want to show up. There you go. And Temple of Triumph. Then you got 4 of your Interplanar Beacons to try and help you get the colors you need to cast what you're looking for. And you gain life with whenever you cast a Planeswalker, which there's 13 Planeswalkers in this deck, so that's fairly often. Swiftwater Cliffs, 3 of those. 3 Tranquil Coves, and 4 of the Windscarred Crags. So a lot of life gain on your lands there. Unfortunately, a lot of them do come into play tapped, so if you're looking to upgrade the deck, you probably want to put more Steam Vents and more of your actual shock lands in there, and less of these. Then 5 islands, 2 mountains, 2 plains. Then, of course, we have our sideboard. Your sideboard has one more Sarkhan in it, so pretty surprising. There's actually a full place of Sarkhans in here. One Mass Manipulation, really cool card. So you can steal your opponent's planeswalkers and creatures as well, and then swing over with everything. Two Devout Decrees. Good way to get rid of creatures or planeswalkers that are causing a problem if you're playing black or red, which mono red is a big deal, so that helps with that. Dobin's Veto. Probably want more of these in your sideboard than just one. Revoke Existence, you get 2 of those. Good way to get rid of new enchantment creatures or enchantments, or any artifacts that are causing problems. You get a Time Wipe. You get an Ashiok Dream Render. It's kind of weird that they put just her in the sideboard, not in the main deck at all. You get a Dovin in the sideboard as well. 2 Fries, in case you need some damage, to white or blue. And Thirst for Meaning, you get 3 of those in your sideboard. So, help you cycle through and find the cards you're looking for. I think Thirst for Meaning was probably not the greatest choice. There, the blue card from Ravnica that helps you, I think, draw 3 and only discard 1. Or draw 2. I forget what it was. Anyway, probably a better choice. But they actually include some good cards from recent sets in here. Okay, so our next one is called Final Adventure. This is your black-green creature-based deck. You get 1 Vraska, the Golgari Queen. You get 2 of your Blacklands Paragons. Pretty good creature. Good old Death Touch and Lifelink. 2 of the Knight of the Ebon Legion. You probably want to put 4 of these in there. These guys are just beasts. Lovestruck Beast, you get 4 of those, so a full play set of the Lovestruck Beast, if it'll ever load. Their website's obviously not the fastest here. 2 Midnight Reapers, 2 Murderous Riders. I would probably recommend switching out to 4 of those, but still, the fact they give you 2, and this is a pretty valuable sought-after rare right now. It's pretty cool, but I do think you should go up to 4 of those in this deck if you buy one of these. The Edgewall Innkeeper, you get 4 of those. So a lot of really good card draw because a lot of the creatures have adventure on them. 4 of the Foulmire Knights, speaking of adventure, more card draw. And you get a Death Touch out of it, which is awesome. Order of Midnight, you get 4 of those. 4 of the Smitten Swordmasters, great little built-in drain lives on them. I love those guys. 2 Finalities. Really good card for a setup like this because you can either pump up your creatures and cut down your opponent's creatures, or just bring stuff back from your graveyard. 2 Disfigures. As soon as they open, there you go. Cheap little removal spell for small creatures. I would save those for your when you see the Johnny's Pride Mate come out. Just pop it instantly. Just get rid of that thing before it becomes a problem. 4 Lucky Clovers. Those things can get really out of hand with all the adventure stuff that's in here. Because, I mean, think about it. Every time you cast a Murderous Rider, you're taking out 2 creatures. You got 2 of these out, you're taking out 3 creatures. I mean, just crazy, crazy. Oh, hoodwinks and shenanigans for days with that one. You get 2 of the Castle Lochthwains. You get a Fabled Passage, which is pretty amazing that they put such a valuable card in these. However, because they put a valuable card in these, the price is probably going to drop a little bit on these. But I don't know. This is a really good card that's going to find play in a lot of decks for a long time. So, I don't know if they would... I don't know if it's really going to kill the value on this one as much as it will some of the other cards that they're printing in these. But I think it will drop a little bit. It'll probably go back up, though. The Temple of Malade. 2 of those. 3 Jungle Hollows. 7 Forests. 8 Swamps. That's your main deck. And then your sideboard for this one, you get 2 Massacre Girls. This girl in action is pretty intense. I mean, she is a board wipe on feet. That card's pretty awesome. I can't believe they didn't main deck it. I'd probably main deck her. 4 Duress. If it'll load, there you go. Duress, good little cheap way to find out what your opponent's got. Really handy if you're playing blue, so you can know if they have counter spells or not, so you know whether you're safe to cast things, so you're not sitting on spells that you should be getting on the board. 4 Noxious Grasps to get rid of planeswalkers or creatures if they're green or white, and give you a little life gain. 1 Cling to Dust, 2 of the Cruel Harpooners. Great little card if you're having problems with certain decks, blue decks especially, or anything with a lot of flyers in it. Good way to help out with that. And then 2 Thrashing Brontodons if you're having problems with artifacts or enchantments. So there you go, there's your sideboard. So that's all of the final adventure deck. And then we go to Cavalcade Charge. This is basically the red deck wins. We got 3 of the Chandra Acolyte of Flames in here, which is pretty cool. Great little, this is just a great mono red deck. I see a lot of people buying this one and just playing it almost as is. There is 4 Bone Crusher Giants in here. I like the Bone Crusher Giant. It depends on which version of the deck you're running, because this is kind of like a hybrid of the 2 more popular versions. You got the Cavalcade version, or you just got the kind of speedy mono red deck, which mainly just revolves around Torbran, and a lot of direct damage. This one has no direct damage aside from the Bone Crushers in the main deck, which is kind of weird for mono red. They put the shocks on the sideboard. Very unusual. But so you got the 4 Bone Crushers, 4 Fervent Champions, which is again amazing that they put a really popular rare that's got this much power. 4 of them, a full play set in the main deck. 4 Runaway Steamkins, another great rare that's required for this this mono red build that's going around right now. 4 of the Torbrans, another high value rare that you get a full play set of. It's quite surprising how good of a job they did on some of these decks. 4 Rimrock Knights. This is the one that, it's a good little pump and dump kind of spell. You got the +2, and then you do end up getting a creature out of it. So it is a good little sneaky card. If you're going more creature-based, good amount of damage over there. And it does help because a lot of your creatures are 1/1s to work with the Cavalcade. So you can do 3 damage with 1 creature, or if it's a Scorch Splitter, you have 4 damage, plus the Cavalcade. So, Scorch Splitter, 4 of those. Great little card. Awesome little common. I can't believe he's a common. He should have been an uncommon at least. The guy's nuts. 3 of the 10 Street Dodgers. Another little 1/1 with haste for the Cavalcade. Your sorceries, you just get to light up the stage. I'm kind of torn on this card. It does help get a couple more cards that you can play, but you only have 1 turn to do it. It does have the spectacle cost for 1, so it's not very expensive. Kind of torn on it. I don't think you want 4 in there. 2 or 3 is probably plenty. I would take out some of those and put in more Embercleaves. They do give you 1 Embercleave, so you do get a mythic in here. A very valuable mythic at that. Embercleave is a very valuable card. Great card right now. Just total beast card. I mean, double strike with a +1/+1 and trample. And it's basically costs you 2 red mana if you do it right. Just a beast card. I would definitely recommend taking out a couple of the light up the stages, putting in a couple more Embercleaves if you go with this. But Embercleave is just awesome card. I can't believe they actually put it in there. And 4 Cavalcade of Calamities. That is kind of the basis of this deck. It's basically like Torbran. Whenever a creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, Cavalcade of Calamity deals 1 damage to that player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. So it's an extra point of damage for every little 1/1 or 1 whatever that attacks. I think they should have put some Anaxes in here to kind of work with this deck a little bit more. Because, like I said, they're kind of floating in between 2 different styles of deck here. But anyway, our lands are 3 Castle Emberths, which is awesome that they put 3 of the rare land that you actually need. Of course, I would recommend going up to 4. Because that is really handy to be able to give your creatures the extra +1 when you're attacking with a bunch of little 1/1s most of the time. That turned them all into 2/1s after the fact. So they still work for the Cavalcade, but you actually pump them up, do a little bit more damage, because you got 10 1/1s coming across the board. It's not quite as scary as 10 2/1s coming across the board. So 18 Mountains, and then your sideboard is 3 Experimental Frenzies. Pretty decent card. I like it. I'm not sure. You know, definitely good for the sideboard. I don't know if I'd use it in the main deck, but definitely good for the sideboard. 4 Shocks, like I said, I would put those in the main deck. I would, you know, red deck, you want to kind of get a lot of damage fast. Even though shock isn't as good as a lightning bolt, but it's the best they'll give us at the time. 2 of the Tybalts. This is great if you're running against those white decks that are just all about the life gain, because they can get out of control really quick. So with this, as long as he's in play, your opponents can't gain life. So if you're playing against a life gain deck, you definitely want to get this guy out. I'd almost, because I've come across so many life gain decks in Arena, I'd almost say put 4 of these in your sideboard. I would put some of the shocks in the main deck and put some more Tybalts in the sideboard, because this guy really shuts down that whole Johnny deck thing that's going around. Satyr's Cunning. Plus the Tybalt does give you more 1/1s that help with it basically spits out Scorch Spitters, which is amazing. So yeah, it's crazy. There's -2, so you can actually pop out 2 of the 1/1 basic Scorch Spitters that do 1 damage to any target whenever it attacks or when it dies. So it's not quite as effective as a Scorch Spitter, but pretty good. So you can get 2 of those and still have them out there with one left on there. He doesn't have a +1 though, which is kind of weak, but you know. So 3 of the Satyr's Cunnings, which is good repeatable with the escape card to keep popping out more 1/1s. And then 3 Slaying Fires, another good little damage spell. And it does 3 damage to any target. If you use all red mana, which in a mono red deck, you're always going to use all red mana, it deals 4 damage instead. So there you have it. Pretty much red deck wins, but with the Cavalcade variation of it. So that's just a great deck. I see that one's just going to be a classic, I think. There's such good value in there, so many rares. And then the last one is Flash of Ferocity, basically your Simic Flash deck. And they do actually include a Brazen Borrower with it, which is nuts. So you get 1 Brazen Borrower. Obviously, you probably want to put a few more in there to run the deck up to its full capacity. You get 4 of the Night Pack Ambushers. Pretty decent card. It's, you know, all these creatures are going to be flash, except for this one. Come on, load. I want to load. The Wave Break Hippocamp, the Horsefish. It's not loading the card for some reason, but it's basically whenever you play your first spell on an opponent's turn, you draw a card, I believe. So a good way to get extra cards out. It's one of the rares from Theros Beyond Death. Oh, it's finally going to load. There you go. Whenever you cast your first spell each opponent's turn, draw a card. So, great little way to get more card draw going on, especially considering all your creatures have flash, and pretty much every spell in here is made to be cast on your opponent's turn. You're not doing a lot on your own turn. You're basically untap, draw, go, you know. So, he's a good one, but I think you probably want to get a couple more in there if you want some, at least 1 more to get more card draw. The Wildborn Preserver was really handy in these decks. He's still kind of handy, but you probably want to cut down on them. They give you 4 of them, which is nice, but I think they probably designed this deck a while back, and it's not quite as effective now as it was. A lot of people are taking those out of the deck just because he's an easy target, but it is still a helpful card, so you can leave a couple in, but I'd recommend probably putting in more Borrowers or more Hippocamps. Alright, next up you have 4 of the Brineborn Cutthroats, another flash creature that, of course, you can put whenever you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, you put a 1/1 counter on them. So, good little flash-in blocker. Your Frilled Mystic, flash-in counterspell creature. Spectral Sailor, your flash-in flyer that you can use for card draw as well. Your instants are Thassa's Intervention, 2 of those. Pretty good card, pretty good card draw ability and whatnot, and counterspell as well. So 4 ops to get through your deck, find the cards you need. 4 quenches, another card to play on your opponent's turn, counterspell stuff. 2 Sinister Sabotages, another counterspell. 2 Unsummons, way to get rid of stuff after they've casted if you're locked up when they cast up. 2 of your Castle Ventresses, which help with your scry. So nice that they're putting those rare lands in there. And a Fabled Passage. So you get a Brazen Borrower and a Fabled Passage in this deck. So if the prices don't tank on these cards, the retail price of this deck is already less than the value of the cards in it, pretty much. Temple of Mastery. You get 2 of those. 3 of the Thornwood Falls. Again, I don't like the lands that come into play tapped, so I would recommend putting the shock lands in there instead. 8 forests, 8 islands. In your sideboard, you got 3 of the Shifting Ceratopses, which is great if you're playing blue. So if you're basically mirror matching against another Simic deck, you throw this guy in the main deck, and it really helps just shut down everything that it can't be countered. It's got protection from blue, and then of course you can give it reach, trample, or haste for 1 green, which is awesome. 2 of the Disdainful Strokes for more counter spells. 2 of the Negates for more counter spells. If you want to go more control, Aether Gust, 3 of those. If you're playing mono red, great little counter spell for mono red. Or green if you're playing Simic again, if you're doing a mirror match. 2 of the Mystical Disputes, another counterspell, and 3 of the Threnody Singers. So, good way to flash in a blocker and knock down the power of one of your opponent's creatures at the same time. So, it's for your devotion to blue. So, there's your sideboard. That's the Flash of Ferocity. So there's your 4 decks: Flash of Ferocity, Cavalcade Charge, Final Adventure, and Allied Fires. So like I said, it looks like they just basically took the most popular decks on Arena right now and built them into an actual deck. And they didn't cut as many corners as they usually do on the rares and mythics, which is very surprising. These are very well put together decks. They just need a slight bit of tweaking to update them, and they're ready to go. I mean, these are real deal decks. These are real deal standard decks. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about these new decks, and if you're going to try and pick a bunch up, of course, I'm going to try and get them as quick as I can. I'm a little worried that they might do the same thing as the Brawl decks and be very expensive at first and then drop down. But I'll overpay at the beginning to at least get a couple sets so I can open them on my channel. So hopefully we'll see you in those videos when I get those in. Let me know in the comments, like I said, what you think of these decks. If you think they're awesome, if they did a great job with them for once, or if you just think it's just going to destroy card values on cards, and by the time these come out in a few months, the decks will have all been changed. And yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.